of many of our global conversations is climate change. GIS is a critical tool to help us understand and tackle the impacts of a changing climate. From tracking extreme weather to modeling environmental scenarios, GIS enables stakeholders to make informed decisions and drive effective climate action.
To walk us through an Esri Canada resource to help us address climate change using GIS, we are thrilled to welcome Madison Mackey to the podcast. She's a technical solution specialist with the President's Office and is the creator and curator of our climate change data and resources site. Madison, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hi, it's so great to have you here. And I know this is a passion project for you, so we're so excited that you're able to share some more information about the site that you've been working on. So I guess that leads to the first question. Just tell us more about the climate change site that you built.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to talk about the climate change site because, as you said, it is a passion project of mine. And it was originally created about a year ago, and we've been adding on to it, developing it, and growing it ever since. So the main purpose of the Climate Change Data and Resource Hub is to showcase all the excellent GIS work that you guys do, that our Canadian customers do, and how they are helping us reach our climate change goals in Canada.
Yeah, and I know climate change goals are a big part of the hub and it highlights that. But for those of us like maybe myself who aren't as familiar with what those goals are, could you just sort of fill me in and maybe give an example of how our user community is meeting those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Climate Change Hub is really focused on 4 of our major goals. We do have more goals than that in Canada, but we're really focusing on these main 4, which are to generate 90% emissions-free electricity by 2030, enhance disaster preparedness for effective response and rehabilitation, protect 30% of the environment by 2030, and also achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So these goals can be found on the homepage, on the front page, but then there's also a tab in the header called Canada's Climate Goals, where we go into this a little bit deeper. So each goal correlates to a page where you'll be able to find up to 12 examples of some really great GIS work that our Canadian customers have put together. So some highlights, I would say, if you visit the Transition to a Greener Economy page, where we're looking at generating 90% emissions-free electricity by 2030, you can find a really great solar energy calculator that was built by the city of Calgary. This is a great way if you're thinking of adding solar panels to your house, you can see how much energy you will have access to at the city of Calgary. So things like that. And there are examples for all the pages. Like I said, 12 examples per goal.
Yeah, I really love that part of your site, that you're highlighting what our users are doing to be able to address climate change and telling their story. So it's a really great resources to be able to peruse that information. So if you haven't had a chance, you need to check that out. But another important section on your hub site is finding climate related data. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about some of the data and resources that are available from the site?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the climate change site, like you said, is our live data and resources. Now, many people don't know this, but we actually have live feed data coming from the Living Atlas for our users in Canada. And on the Climate Change Hub, you can find some pages that will help you find more direct data. For example, we have live feeds for wildfires as well as hurricanes and extreme weather that you can find on the Climate Change Hub. Now, one thing I really love about this is that they are feature services. So you can then grab those layers and bring them into your work to see how the wildfires or extreme weather are affecting your community alongside your own data.
It's very exciting to have that live data. And I know it's in the Living Atlas, but this just makes it easier to sort of get to what we're looking for. So great place for people to check out. But if somebody has taken a look at the data or been inspired by some of the other applications created by the GIS users in Canada, what are some ways that they can take action and begin their GIS journey towards a sustainable future?
So this takes us into the third topic that we find on the Climate Change Hub, which is the Take Action section. So that's great. Now, in this section, we do have a page for learning our GIS for climate action. So this is a great page where you can find 12 curated self-paced learning opportunities that I've gone and searched for. But they're for all skill levels. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or an expert, and you're looking to build the GIS for climate action in your community, you can go in there to find some great courses. So this can be from anything from building a wildfire dashboard to enhance your resilient community. There's also some ArcGIS for conservation and reducing emissions found in there as well.
Yeah, it is a great resource to be able to consolidate all those different educational resources into one place. So there's so much to check out on the climate change page. I guess we've got to share the URL. What's the URL?
The URL is climate.esri.ca.
Absolutely. So please check that out when you get the chance. And we really appreciate you spending a few minutes with us to tell us more about what's on the site. But as always, we like to kind of wrap up our conversations by asking you for 3 takeaways. So what are 3 things from our discussion that you want our audience to remember?
So the biggest takeaway is that you have to go and see it for yourself. Please visit climate.esri.ca and go through all the pages, look through the apps, and I'm sure you'll be inspired by some of the really excellent GIS work that is featured on the site. Now, my other takeaways are going to be a little bit different. There are areas where you can continue learning, actually. So one of the big things is we have a very exciting keynote speaker joining us for GIS Day in Canada on November 19th. Her name is Diane Whelan, and her app is featured in our Climate Change Hub, but she is an advocate for active transportation and hiked the entire Trans-Canada Trail. So she'll be talking about that more on GIS Day. The other one is I will be co-hosting a webinar on climate change resources and data, as well as potentially some analyses and how you can work with this live feed data. And that's going to be on November 28th. So please register for that webinar as well. The final takeaway or action item is that there is a new GIS for climate action MOOC, which is a massive open online course. It's already had 2 iterations. So coming up next year, there will be a 3rd iteration on February 19th. And this is a really excellent self-paced course that is over 6 weeks. And I really encourage everyone to check it out if they're interested in GIS for climate action.
That's amazing, Madison. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into this Climate Change Hub and being able to spend a few minutes with us to talk about it. So thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That was Madison Mackey. She is a technical solutions specialist with the President's Office, and she's joining us today from her home in Montreal.